success in the communities that governments serve. Specifically, we're launching what's called our Blockwise tool, an always-on survey that will ask residents a series of questions about how they feel about trust, safety, transparency, and fairness within the Louisville Metropolitan Police Department, as well as what their top concern is. Those surveys went live earlier today, and you'll see a visual of them over here to my left. Each of these surveys, as the chief just said, are anonymous, and so there's no requirement for anyone to identify who they are, and we will not be taking any identifiable information. In addition, these always-on surveys will be provided by Zen City, not by the police department or the city, so that individuals are providing information free of bias one direction or the other. The surveys will include photographs of the city of Louisville and will be an advertisement from Zen City. We will locate these advertisements where people mostly spend their time today. Over 95% of people have smartphones today, and these are digital ads. They're located on websites, social media, on apps, on games, whether it be the Bible app in Spanish or your latest vacation trip that you're looking to book on Expedia. That's where people are, is where we'll find them. In addition, we'll be surveying about 1,500 to 2,000 folks a month, which is a statistically significant amount of the city of Louisville, and we'll be doing it based upon demographics, based upon the census, so we can match to what Louisville actually looks like, and so the police department can respond to what exactly the chief said, the locations, the amounts, and the demographics that residents say are most important to them. So we'll be taking about 18,000 to 20,000 surveys in response every year. We'll be using these scores that we developed to test trust metrics, safety metrics, transparency, and then ultimately what the top concerns are of residents. These then tools will be built into live dashboards that LMPD, community engagement, frontline patrol officers can use to be able to better respond. Ultimately, I found while working in Chicago as the director of strategy at the Chicago Police Department, it helped the police department respond not only to performance management to be able to better respond to the community, second for communication so that LMPD can better communicate to the public, and third around community engagement so that folks can talk about what the highest level of interest and most important interest areas are for them on a daily basis. Lastly, I just want to mention this demonstrates, while I did say that Zen City works with over 300 governments across the globe and five of the top 25 police departments, Louisville Metropolitan Police Department is the first police department in this region and one of the largest in this area to partner with us on this tool. So it shows that they're also at the cutting edge of listening to and trying to better understand how to build trust. And so we're very excited to be here and to announce this partnership. And with that, I think we can answer some questions.
So does LMPD plan to publicly share results of the survey once that gets up and running?
So the results of this survey will be both internal and external. So we will have an external facing dashboard for people to understand and be able to see the trends in where the community sentiment lies currently.
And did you all start looking into this as a result of the consent decree, or is this something you've been considering a while?
No, this is something we've been working on this partnership on for close to a year. We've been working on this project to get this up and running. So we are constantly looking for new ways to be able to interact and communicate with the community. This is another step that we're taking. It will affect and be affected by the investigation with the Department of Justice. But what we're trying to do is provide good, solid constitutional policing, regardless of what oversight body might be involved or any other external agencies. We're about making LMPD and the community safer and more transparent.
Is this a yearly subscription? How does this work as far as cost?
Cost to the city or to the individual using it?
All the way around. How does it work?
So for any individual who participates in the survey, that's free. There is no charge. It comes to their smartphone, and what we found is over 90% of the city has access to smartphones, regardless of socioeconomic status. So we wanted to make sure that was the case because we don't want to exclude people from being able to access the platform. So while there is that 10%, we've expanded through this additional platform the number of people that we can reach. That being said, it's a year-to-year contract that we have that with Zen City that the city is paying for.
And what does that cost?
I can get you the exact numbers on it. I don't have that in front of me.
Okay. But this is something you plan to do ongoing, or?
So we're going to continue this. If we see success, we would like to continue it in perpetuity. But we're going to evaluate that and work with Zen City. And part of what has happened with Zen City in this process of getting everything set up is they've been very responsive to understanding the specific needs of LMPD and the city, so that we can set up measures and metrics in order to understand what we need. He spoke about how many cities that they are in, and while they have confirmed efficacy in their data from those cities, what we want to make sure is that we have a unique product that helps us. And how can we use this product maybe differently from what some of the other cities have used it in order to guide our strategies in a more specific way.
Now, obviously, this survey will be sent out in an advertisement form, but does LMPD plan to share a link to this survey so people can seek it out if they want?
So there will be an opportunity for people to proactively access the survey. However, and I can let him speak about statistical measures, in order to get a representative sample, us sending it out to individuals is not going to create a representative sample. While we will gather more data that way, we want to make sure that the data that we gather is neutral, unbiased, and not influenced by LMPD. So.
Thank you. That's a great description. Essentially what we do is we'll provide two different formats to the department. The first is the statistically significant format, which is the always-on anonymized surveys. All surveys will be anonymized, but these will be the ones that we send out to all demographics across the city and then match them to the city to make sure that LMPD has a complete read of what the city looks like, so that we're not just speaking to the same 10 people coming to specific meetings. Then we'll also provide a QR code that we can put on the web, both on the LMPD website, on Zen City's website, as well as take to community meetings so that we can reach out to folks. We'll keep those numbers as we report them back to LMPD separate, so that in the first tranche it's statistically significant, and in the second tranche you'll see, oh, this is the group of people that attend meetings, this is the group of people that are hitting the website.
You guys operated, you've had this in other municipalities, correct?
Correct.
I guess, talk about the successes, what we can expect in our local community based on what you all have found in other municipalities.
Sure. So, obviously this company's a tech startup, and so we haven't been around for decades. We've been around almost a decade, and essentially we have partnerships that have lasted 5-6 years in various cities, even longer in others. I'll just give a couple of examples. In the city of Chicago, what we saw was an actual intervention about how the way that the police department actually patrolled, and we tested to see if it was different. So we looked at a survey and said, in this district, if we patrol in this way, it gives this kind of trust. In another district, if we patrol this way, it gives a certain level of trust. So you can look at operations differently. The second piece is really a common framework. One of the things that we've talked about in the City of London, with which we have a partnership, is going to community meetings and having a common sense of here's what actually we're seeing in the data. Oftentimes when you go to community meetings, I'm sure the chief can speak to this better than I can, you have a lot of leaders or individuals in neighborhoods that have very specific concerns about their block and their specific neighborhood. What this data allows you to show is here's what's going on across the city, here's what's going on across your division, so you have a better context both on a statistically significant level that actually gives a common frame of reference for that data. And the last piece that I would argue is in a lot of the cities we've seen a sense in residents that transparency and fairness have increased because they're starting to see this data and see that the police department itself is judging itself based on this new data, which we found to be a huge help.
And what does this lead to then? Does it lead to more trust in police, therefore better relationships? And I know the struggle with police is anytime there's a crime, people don't always cooperate, don't want to talk. Is this something that will help with police gather crucial information from the communities that they work in?
From the Zen City perspective, that's what we hope. That's what our company is designed to do. I'll turn it over to the chief, and he can say for LMPD's perspective.
So the goal is absolutely to build trust. We understand that the work that we're doing to build relationships within the community, there is no way that we can reach out and have a one-on-one relationship with everyone. So when there are issues of a certain crime issue or a certain social issue that affects trust in the police, we need to know about that so that we can make adjustments. And so the things that we might be concerned about internally might not necessarily align specifically with some of the things that the rest of the community is concerned about, and vice versa. And that often happens where we get calls from members of the community that we have relationships with or that we speak to at community gatherings that say, hey, did you know this was happening? Hey, what are you going to do about these things? This is just another platform for us to build that level of interaction so that we can build that trust and show that we are being responsive to the actual needs and concerns of the community.
What's your long-term hope with this?
My long-term hope is exactly that, is that this is a platform that grows in our ability to use it and interact, and the public sees that this isn't a facade. This is an actual opportunity for us to get information about their concerns and respond to that information about their concerns in a real and legitimate way.
Couple more.
What's the level of detail within these surveys? Is it something that's quick and easy that you can just do in line at a coffee shop, or is this something you maybe sit down for and really kind of go through?
So the way these surveys are set up, and I can let Mo talk about that a little bit more, but the surveys are set up so that it actually engages people. We've all been on social media where we've gotten ads or we've gotten surveys that are 10 minutes long. No one's going to do that. These are set up so that they can be completed in a short period of time, yet their questions are designed so that we get as much information out of that short survey and get people to actually complete them.
The only thing I would add to that is it's specifically designed so that each question is as short as possible and it's easy to answer. So literally you're picking 1 to 10 on a ranking, and we keep the question number limited so that people are more likely to complete it. Within the industry, we have a very high click rate in terms of people actually clicking on our ads because we try to make them as compelling to click on as possible. They're not necessarily talking about government, and they're not being sponsored by the government. And then once we actually have that click through, we have 80% of the folks respond completely to the survey.
80%.
Once they click through, yes.
What about the initial click? What's the percentage?
It's a couple percent, and so but amongst the industry, that's actually pretty high.
So basically how it works is randomly people are picked and it could pop up on your phone?
Correct. And basically because of the census data and the data that we know from ad networks, we know who the folks are by demographics, and then they self-report. And if it matches, then we keep those surveys, and if not, we kick them out. And then those surveys then go into the overall list that we have to be able to match the city as a whole, both by zip code, race, age, and gender.
Anybody else?
Is there anything we missed that either of you want to add?
I think you got it.
It covers.
And how long have you guys had this in place? I mean, you've had in other cities, but how long has this been going on?
You're seeing it. This is going live now.
Oh, I mean, live here, but I mean, in general,
Oh,
like
okay.
across the country.
Oh, for years. So in Chicago, we've been there for, I think, 6 years now.
Okay.
And so it's been in a number of cities for even longer.
And you said it's live now, right?
It went live earlier today.
Have you already been receiving responses?
We should have already received them. I haven't checked the list. Our head, a VP of statistics, or actually a VP of data analytics is over there, so I'll ask him. But I'm pretty sure we usually get responses right away.
All right, thanks everybody.
Thanks so much.
So we're gonna show Lynn sitting out, and then Colonel Hunter will say with an update on the missing juvenile. And then, am I gonna screw everybody up if I turn these overhead lights off? Do you want them on because you're already balanced, or do you want these off?
Go ahead and see, just flip them off and see. I don't think it makes much of a difference.
Yeah, I didn't see
Anybody care one way or the other? Okay, you want Gregory notes or? I don't think so. All right, so at this time, yeah, go ahead, grab it. We'll give us just a second. He's gonna grab his computer, take off. Deputy Chief Humphrey will provide a really quick statement on the missing 10-year-old, and then he'll open it up to questions. I'm assuming everybody's still ready? Sir, it's on you.
Okay. Last night, LMPD responded to the area of the 2100 block of St. Louis Avenue on a missing 10-year-old juvenile named Kayla Bailey. We immediately began dedicating resources to gather information and conduct a search to locate Kayla. To this point, we still have been unable to locate her and return her home safely. We are going to continue dedicating resources and building resources to find her until we are able to return her home. At this time, we have the involvement of our air unit, our missing persons unit, as well as patrol and our criminal interdiction division officers. All of those resources will remain diligent in trying to locate her until we possibly can. We are asking the community for assistance in finding Kayla. We have posted pictures and descriptions of Kayla on all of our social media platforms, and as we get more information, we will continue to post that on our social media platforms. We are asking anyone who has any information about Kayla's whereabouts or knows anyone that has information about Kayla's whereabouts to please call 911, or they can report it anonymously through our tip line, 574 LMPD. We are dedicated 100% to making sure we return this little girl home, and we want to make sure that the community helps us in that process so that we can return her home safely.
And can you describe the last time she was seen?
The last time she was seen was around 5 p.m. yesterday by her parents.
Okay. And what should the public do if they see her?
If the public locates or sees a child that they think is Kayla, I would ask that you try to keep eyes on her, call 911, and immediately report her location so that we can get officers there to verify that as quickly as possible.
And then the last one for me, is this the first time she's gone missing? Is this a suspected runaway? Can you elaborate at all on that?
Well, we know that she was not abducted, but other than that, that's still part of the investigation that we're trying to make sure that we understand all of those pieces.
Because we've seen that there's been other issues with her going missing. Do you have any record of that?
So what I'll say about any other issues is that Kayla is 10 years old. Kayla is out on the street, apparently by herself. That means Kayla's in danger because we do not want a 10-year-old on the street by herself. So that's what we're focusing on right now. Any of those other things we can focus on later on and work with her family for that.
How were you able to roll out abduction?
Excuse me?
The abduction part, you said it wasn't an abduction. How
So
were you
that-
able to roll that out?
Yes, so that's been part of what we've discovered in the investigation and working with Kayla's family is that we know she was not abducted by force at this point.
Anybody have anything else?
Does she have any medical conditions that are concerning or anything like that, that maybe need medication or anything?
Yeah, as far as we know, she has no medical conditions of concern. The concern is her age and being alone. A 10-year-old is not safe to be alone on the street, especially for this amount of time.
Anything else, guys? All right, that's it.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you all. I appreciate that.
Thank you. Back to the grind. Back to my padded cell. I'm serious. Come,